Today we'll be making laboratory tables for our dungeon with glassware, pots, and more. How are you today? Art Jeremiah here, back with another video about building a dungeon. This is the 7th installment of Building a Dungeon series. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell below if you want to regularly improve your tabletop crafting skills. Stick around until the end of the video because I will be showing you the build so far. I looked around a little for some beads or jewelry findings that would make good clay jars or metal pans and was not too satisfied, mainly because I wanted them to have a simple look and have various sizes, so I decided to sculpt my own. I found some Sculpey on clearance, so I will be using that to build the pots. I'm assuming a kid got curious and decided to smash them up a little, and the hobby store decided they could not sell it at full price. The color doesn't matter because I will be painting the end result. The great thing about Sculpey is it's oven-baked clay, and I can continue to work on it until I'm satisfied with the result, without worrying about it drying on me too soon. For the pots, I'm first going to make various sized balls. I decided that the easiest way to keep the form of each ball was to bake them. I did this at a low temperature, around 275 degrees, for 10 minutes. After they are firmly baked, I slice each ball roughly in half. In order to get the pots to sit flush, I sliced the rounded bottoms off just enough so they wouldn't rock when sitting on the table. I used my hobby knife to hollow out the pots. This was a little tricky at first, but after muscle memory kicked in, I was quickly spinning the pot around and slicing some pretty smooth looking bowls. I used super glue to add a variety of different sand and pebbles in about half of the pots. This will represent different minerals and ore. I made this spilled over pot by laying down super glue on parchment paper and sprinkling sand over it. In order to spray them without them flying all over, I decided to place all the pots on a strip of duct tape. As you may be able to see, it was a little hard to remove them from the duct tape, so probably masking tape would have been good enough. That's usually what I use, but in this case I decided to experiment. And for me, the hobby is all about experimenting. I go to hand paint the pots in various colors. The specific colors I used were Vallejo Mahogany Brown, Basalt Gray, and Bronze. I superglue various colors and grades of glitter into the remaining empty pots. My favorite wasn't really a glitter, it was this jewelry findings gold and silver. I don't really know what it's made of, but I definitely plan on getting lots of use out of it. If you have any ideas of what projects I could add it to, let me know in the comments below. The pots I filled with sand earlier, I painted look like they're holding various types of minerals and ore. I did this with various Vallejo paints, including gold, silver, light blue, and purple. I decided to hand varnish the pots with matte finish, as well as high gloss varnish. The high gloss varnish, I just painted over all the ore and glitter in order to make them stand out. I ended up being extremely happy with how these pots turned out. At first, I was not sure how I was going to get glass containers, but then I researched a little and decided to find various bits of round clear plastic like old used pen cartridges and the clear tubes that protect hairs on new brushes. Making the glass containers was pretty straightforward. All I did is cut my plastic pieces to various lengths and then superglued them to a piece of clear plastic that I salvaged from the recycle bin. I finished these off by hitting them with a spray gloss varnish and then cutting them away from each other with a pair of sharp scissors. This turned out being a really easy and effective way to add glassware to the tables. I look forward to using this method again. I decided I wanted all these pots and glassware on some sort of wooden table. I had a variety of wood pieces just sitting around unused, so I decided to craft the tables out of actual wood this time. I decided to take all my wooden pieces, which are basically just coffee stirrers and small wooden dowels, and cut up the edges and scratch up the wood until I'm happy with the texture. I used super glue to attach pieces of wood together into shapes that resemble tables. I decided that I didn't really need to prime the tables because they are wood and I figured the wood would soak up the paint really well. The specific paints I used were Apple Barrel's Territorial Beige and Anita's Moccasin Brown. I figured that if I painted different planks different colors, it would add just a little bit more visual interest to the build. I have a thin glaze that I use to stain all the tables. This glaze consists of brown ink, water, flow improver, and gloss varnish. It's honestly pretty similar to a wash. I just mixed it a little thicker by adding a little bit more gloss varnish to the mixture. To finish off the tables, I do a light-handed dry brush of Apple Barrel's Antique White. After spray varnishing the tables, assembly is as easy as supergluing the pots and glassware on top of the tables, and then gluing the tables directly to the room with white PVA glue. If you've enjoyed watching this video, consider joining me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and you'll gain access to time-lapse versions of videos that show a more detailed look at some of the processes in this video and other videos that I posted on YouTube. Would you have done anything different in this build? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get on with what I promised at the beginning of this video and show you the dungeon so far. Stay tuned for bonus time-lapse footage filmed and edited in the style of my Patreon videos.